everyone, Tina here. Welcome to PhotoPlay's YouTube channel and welcome to Tuesdays with Tina. Today we're going to create 3 cards. This collection pack is so cute. Although we're only using pattern papers in here, the collection series is so amazing. It's called Bunnies and Blooms. It's brand new from PhotoPlay. And we're going to be using some pattern papers from the Bunnies and Blooms 12x12 collection pack. They're so pretty. It has a vintagey feel, which I really love. And we're going to pair that with some ephemera. This is the Bunnies and Blooms ephemera pack. I love using ephemeras on card, and we're going to use this. And we're also going to use the Bunnies and Bloom stamp set. It has some fun elements in here that go perfect with our pattern paper. And I'm also going to use the coordinating die set. So we're going to start by we're going to make 3 cards today. We're going to start by doing a little bit of stamping and coloring. The coloring is going to be very easy. Instead of using black ink, I decided to switch it out a little bit. Since our pattern papers kind of have a vintage feel, I'm going to use a brown ink to stamp my images. This is going to, I think, create a little bit more of a softer look. I'm going to take the egg, the little speckled egg that's in our stamp set. I'm going to stamp this 2 times. There's also a cute little bunny. We're going to take that and we'll stamp that as well. And then in the stamp set, there's so many fun images, but I'm going to take the butterfly, a nice spring butterfly, and I'm going to stamp this twice. Before we jump in and get to coloring, I do want to share with you the colors of alcohol markers that I'm going to be using. I'm going to zoom in a little bit and play some music while I color. And again, it's very simple coloring, but when I'm done coloring, we will be back to do a little bit of die cutting. Okay, coloring is all done. I'm going to go ahead and take the coordinating dies. We're just going to line all of these up. And before we run this through the die cut machine, I do want to bring back my ink. In our stamp set, there's quite a few sentiments, and the coordinating die set will die cut out Bloom, Happy Easter, Easter Egg Hunt, and Hello Spring. So I'm going to stamp Hello Spring on that same cardstock that we used to stamp our images. And then I'm going to go ahead and die cut that out as well. I'm going to run all of these through my die cut machine, and then when I'm done die cutting, we will be right back. So all of my images are die cut, and I use some very soft colors because the pattern papers that we're using are kind of on the softer tone. Let me zoom out and show you. I chose 3 of them. I love this real pretty peachy floral color, and then there's some distressed scripty print on here that's just stunning. This is called Honeybees. The reverse side has a real pretty bumblebee and spring foliage print. We're not going to be using the back side of this one, just the front, but I just think this is so pretty. We're also going to be using Welcome Spring. These are all 12x12 sheets. I just trimmed mine down to make it easier for my card making. On the reverse side of the Welcome Spring, this is a real pretty plaid. There is a real pretty typewriter print with florals. We're going to be using both sides of this sheet. Your favorite stores, some of your favorite stores will have the 12 by 12 sheets individually. That's why I'm naming them off. And then lastly, we're going to be using the front and back of the Easter egg 12 by 12 sheet. This has some really pretty speckled eggs on it. And then this is the reverse side that has some stripes. We're going to be using this pattern paper. And when I chose my alcohol markers, these are the colors that I kind of wanted to get as close as I could to. So this was my inspiration for the colors that I chose. Okay, I'm going to do some paper trimming, and then we're going to jump in, get some ephemera, and then we are going to start with our first project. So I chose some ephemera for my very first card, and I really liked that they included a banner with some real pretty gingham print. This is going to go perfect with the pattern paper that I chose. And then I also am going to use the Happy Easter ephemera for my sentiment. We're going to go ahead and jump in and use the butterflies for this card. So I'll take these also. We're going to put this off to the side. All of my cards today are a standard A2 size card. They're side folding, so they're 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And I'll give you the measurements of my pattern paper that I trimmed down. With our plaid print, this measures 4 inches by 5 1/4. And I'm going to go ahead and adhere this directly to my card base. We have a panel here with that pretty peachy color. This measures 3 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. What we're going to do is take this panel and mat it on here. But before we do that, I went ahead and trimmed down a piece of white cardstock, and using a scallop die, I went ahead and scalloped the very top of it. I'm going to place this at the very top of this panel, and then we're going to trim away the excess. So I'm going to add some adhesive behind here, and we're going to tack this down. Once I have this adhered, I'm going to use my scissors, and we'll trim away the excess. I'm going to use my tape runner, and we're going to adhere this directly on this panel here. Once we have this adhered, I'm going to place this in the middle of our card base. And I'm going to take my banner, and we're going to place this over the seam. Now I have a little bit of the fishtail overhanging. I don't mind that, but if you want to trim this down, you very well could. I went ahead and die cut out a circle, and it's just about a 1/4 inch larger than my Happy Easter die cut piece. I'm going to go ahead and tack down my ephemera to my white circle. And then I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to put some foam squares behind here. This is going to go, the very top of this circle is going to go right at the top of my banner. And I'm just centering it on that pattern paper here. After we have this done, I'm going to bring in some natural twine. I'm going to double it up, and I'm also going to bring in a button. I thought a button would go perfect right here. I'm going to just double this up. Next, we have our butterflies that we stamped and colored in. I'm going to use a small foam square. And I'm going to add them to our card too. And for finishing touches for this card, I'm just going to add a little bit of sparkle to the center of our flowers on our ephemera. Sparkle on the wings, you could very well do that, but I think the flower centers are just perfect. And then that will finish off card number 1. For card number 2, I have a panel with the eggs on it. Love these eggs. I'm going to adhere this to my card base. This card we're going to create and this is going to cover the entire card front. Yeah. We're going to make a landscape style card with this one. Then I have some more of the same pattern papers. This one measures 2 inches by 4 1/4. And actually they're all 4 1/4 inches wide. This one I'm gonna adhere our peach pattern paper to about a half of an inch up from the top of our typewriter print paper. And then I'm going to take this piece and we're going to adhere this. I think that's going to work out great. Once we have these three adhered, I'm going to flip it over, and then on this side we're going to add some adhesive, and I'm going to add some more of that scalloped edge. And I'm going to trim away the excess. I have some more of the natural twine. I'm going to flip this around, add some adhesive behind here, tack down the end, and I'm going to wrap it around twice at the seam. And then we'll just tack this in the back. Wonderful. I'm going to take this panel and I'm going to place it all the way to the right. We're going to use the Candy Company Ephemera, and I'm going to mat this on some white cardstock. Since we covered our white card base, I do want a little bit more white on my card, so matting this is going to help with that. And then I also cut out a slightly larger piece of vellum. I think vellum always softens cards, and I'm going to adhere this to the vellum. Wonderful. I'm going to take this panel, I'm going to place it at an angle just so this top corner is hitting my twine. But I do want to add a little bit of dimension. So I'm going to flip this around, and using my foam tape, we're going to put some foam tape behind here. Wonderful. Now I went ahead and tied another bow with that same natural twine. And I'm going to, before we tack this bow down, for this card we're going to be using the bunny and also the eggs. And I'm going to adhere one egg to this top corner, and then this one we're going to tack underneath here. I'll take the little bunny. Normally you'd want a chocolate bunny, but I thought the colors would go really good with this card. So we're going to tack this down here on the bottom corner. Wonderful. Okay, I'm going to take that twine, I'm going to add a glue dot behind it. And we'll place this up on the top corner. And since I went through my buttons and found a little square button, we're going to add a button. I have tons of buttons, and I thought we would put it to good use. And this will go over the knot on my bow there. And that will finish off card number 2. For my final card today, my pattern paper, I'm going to be using the typewriter print. This measures 4 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall. So it's going to leave me a little bit of white on the left and the right of my card base. So let's go ahead and adhere this. Now I have a piece of the same pattern paper. It's the reverse side. This is that real pretty plaid. This is 3 inches wide by 3 3/4 inches tall. I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to my card base. After we have this adhered, I have a strip of the stripe paper on the reverse side. It has those pretty eggs. We're going to flip this around. This is a 1 3/4 inch strip. I'm going to go from top to bottom with this right down the center. And any excess overhanging, I'm just going to trim off. For For this card, we're going to bring back some of that scalloped edge that I created with white cardstock. Right at the top of the seam here, I'm going to add this at the full length of my card base. And when I add it, I want to make sure that my scallops are nice and even. After we have this trimmed away, you'll notice I have a piece of vellum. This is slightly larger than my ephemera piece here. We're going to mat this cute little bunny on our vellum. Just love how it looks framed. After we have this adhered, I'm going to flip this around. We're going to put some foam squares behind here. And we're also going to put some foam squares behind our die cut piece here. I'm going to put this at an angle. I have another button, but I want it to have a little dimension to it. So I'm going to take a small foam square, put it right behind the button, and this button fits perfectly in that spot where the ticket is. And then I have some more of that natural twine. I'm going to add this using a glue dot to the center of the button. After we have this adhered, we have our Hello Spring. I'm going to flip this around, add a foam square behind here, and we're going to add this to our card. Now lastly, I do want a little sparkle for this card, so I'm going to bring back my glitter, and I'm going to go around the edge of the circle. And that will finish off card number 3. Add that little sparkle on here. Here's a look at all 3 cards we made today with the Bunnies and Blooms 12x12 collection pack. We just used the pattern papers in the pack, but we also used the Bunnies and Blooms ephemera pack and also the Bunnies and Blooms stamp set with the coordinating die. I hope you enjoyed my project. I wish you a lovely day. We'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.